to do this to you again, but do you mind if I just crash out just one more time, just real fucking quick? Thank you so much. So this is a PSA for all the bum ass bitches, especially my baby daddy's big bird looking ass fucking girlfriend. If you're going to date somebody who has a child, you're going to need to give a fuck about the...
All right. So, this is kind of what we're looking at here. The crashing out, and let's just continue so you can see what I'm talking about.
So hard. Oh, they make it so hard to be a mom. They take away all of the tender moments of motherhood that you could have had, but you were stuck in survival mode. So you didn't even really get to enjoy it. You're just fucking surviving, trying to raise these kids, trying to do the best you can, and you get $250 a month. What the fuck?
Yeah, so far, 2 out of 2 of these gals have tattoos and nose rings. So, you can watch my video on tattoos if you want to know more about the psychology behind that and the science behind that. Statistically, we know that women that have tattoos are more promiscuous, okay? And men find them to be less desirable, all right? But, somehow these gals still wind up getting pregnant.
It's the hardest thing about being a mom for me? It's the fact that my mood affects everybody, like everybody. But their moods are not supposed to affect me. For example, if I'm in a bad mood, right, and I get stressed out, like everybody gets in a bad mood and everybody gets stressed out, and oh my god, mom ruined the trip, mom ruined the day because she's in a bad mood. But what about every single day when you guys are in a bad mood? Like my kids, when they're grumpy, when my husband's grumpy, like I'm just supposed to like be happy and be mom and be there for when they need me?
Yeah, you are, because that's what being an adult is. What's really funny about this is that, again, it's really just being an adult. If you're in a work environment, for example, and your boss responds to you in some kind of emotional way, it doesn't mean you can respond back to them in an emotional way. Because if they're already being emotional with you and you respond with that same reciprocity, that could potentially put your job on the line. And there's actually something called the parent-child dynamic, and this is not just as it relates to being children or adults. Typically, how it works is that if an adult acts like a child to another adult, sometimes they tend to have the same response. So you act like a child to me, I'm going to act like a child to you. And you actually see this in a lot of single parent households where they constantly fight. Well, I shouldn't even call it a household because they're not together. But basically, mom crashes out, spews it onto the dad. Dad does the same thing, okay? Because they're both acting like children, right? But what's supposed to happen is that when someone approaches you with a childlike mentality, you're supposed to respond like an adult, okay? You're going to get a more favorable response when that happens. Now, sometimes there's nothing you can do to prevent the crash out, right? Like here. But the point is that when you take on the role of a parent, okay, you don't get to act like a child with those children. You're supposed to act like an adult. So if they have a bad mood, that doesn't mean that you get to also have a bad mood. And if you are in a bad mood, okay, that means that you need to try to not take it out on the children and act like an adult so that they know that you're not responsible, okay, that they're not responsible for your bad mood, because this can create a lot of problems. So, and of course, again, these people are going on the internet and saying all this stuff, and that's not helping the situation.
So it's so wild to me is that because abolishing, you know what I mean, babies is kind of a not common thing, but it's very well talked about now. People have no sympathy or grace for the moms that do keep their baby. And to be clear, I am pro-choice, and I have plenty of friends that have made a different choice than I have. But I have been single since I was 7 months pregnant with no help from my baby daddy, ex-donor, whatever you want to call him. He's nothing. But because he's a POS, I am apparently to blame for that.
You are, because you made the decision to let that man get you pregnant, okay? There's no middle ground. You know, certainly accidents happen, but we're all adults and we know that there's plenty of contraceptives out there available if you choose or choose not to use them. So if you don't use them, this is kind of what happens. And, you know, again, look at this gal. She's got tattoos all over her. I mean, again, so far, now we couldn't see everybody's body in these clips, but if you keep going down, you could see that, you know, already two of them that I talked about, they had tattoos. So this is the third one. She has tattoos. Anyway, let's continue. You know, and again, so the partner ain't nobody, but you're going to go on the internet and you're going to gaslight him, you know, or put him on blast or whatever. And that somehow makes you a better person.
Why is it that women are held to a different standard than men? If I'm a parent, he's a parent. The genders shouldn't really matter. Like, we should be able to do the same thing. Because why is it that people have a problem with the moms going out? Why is it that people have a problem with the moms doing anything? But when it comes to the fathers, they can literally get away with fucking anything. And no one questions their moves, but they're always questioning the mother's moves. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like this weekend, for instance, I wanted to go out, right? And my family's kind of like judgmental with the whole going out thing. And when you're a mother, my sister, my brother especially. And I was like, I'm going out. Like, what are you doing? And he was like, you have a kid. And I was like, bitch. So if I want to go out while she's taking a snooze, what is it to you or anybody else?
Yeah, so we can go a million directions with this. And I don't know any of these people when I pull them up for the most part. I've never seen any of these individuals, and I did see the one of the girls crashing out in one of the clips. I've seen her before, the one that had the massive meltdown. But yeah, so men and women are not the same. Okay, that's for starters. You know, I don't know anything about your man, but the thing is that you're a mother, right? And your job predominantly, first and foremost, is to be a mother. And when you sign up for that job, you don't get to do whatever the hell that you want. Okay, so, you know, again, I am not cherry picking these clips for anything other. I literally typed in, you know, single moms crashing out, and this is what was served to me. Okay. And, you know, here we have again, so far, every single one of these gals crashing out has tattoos. Okay. So, you know, again, when you look at the data, this can tell us something. Now, this person doesn't have a septum piercing, but she does have more than one piercing. She has a lot of piercings. And the data also shows that the more piercings a woman has, the more likely she is to be promiscuous. Okay. She's also acting very masculine. Okay. So, you know, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But, you know, you're trying to go against the grain and think that everyone should adapt to the way that you view the world as opposed to the way the world is, you know. So another thing we can look at here, if I pull up my trusty screen recorder, you know, so many of these gals have the exact same profiles that I quite literally stopped looking at them. Okay. It's always the same thing. Okay. A bunch of performative narcissism, you know, look at me. So let me see if I can find this gal. Yeah, here she is. Okay. So she's a mommy who overshares. I agree with that. You also have a Venmo, so you want people to send you money. Let's look at your link tree. Let's see what that has. So she has a GoFundMe. all right, a Twitter with a little chili pepper, all right, I'm not even gonna try to figure out what that means, but here's my Venmo, send me money. I don't know what LTK is. I guess let's look. Okay, so here's my favorite stuff or whatever, blah blah. Yeah, she's a good-looking gal. It's not a surprise that she got pregnant. The mommy you wish you had. And I'm really glad that my mommy's not like that. My mom isn't full of tattoos and doesn't have piercings all over the place, and she certainly wouldn't be complaining about being a mom. Okay. So the point is, you look at her profile. What is it? It's a bunch of performative narcissism. All right, look at me, world. I'm going to tell you all my infinite wisdom and try to get you to adapt to me. All right. And it's always the same story. And look right here. She has even more tattoos. She's got one on the side of her body. She's got one on her neck. She's got them on her legs, by all means, dudes, if that's the path you want to go down, there she is. I'm not saying she's bad looking, but, a good looking girl with all this baggage makes her a 0. Okay, so let's go to the next clip.
Right now, because there's a lot of legal things going on. But I've just been really wanting to post on here and talk to you guys again, and hopefully get some ideas for content to post. I don't want to cry on the internet again.
Yeah, so I'm gonna cut this clip off. She's a single mom, according to her bio. She's gonna tell the same sort of stories, right? And I certainly understand the position she's in, and all these gals really. But TikTok is not a therapist, okay? If you want to get actual help, you need to go to a licensed clinical professional, all right? Because you're going to get a lot farther and heal a lot faster if you actually get some viable input from a physician, all right? See, what TikTok does, and if you look at my screen recording here, and I go back to, I can't see if I can find the clip, but let's just look at the random clip from this last gal and go to her profile where she's crashing out about something. And let's see if we can find, well, actually, okay, here it is. So here it is right here. This same clip that I pulled up. So when you go on here, all right, a therapist is going to give you objective feedback that is going to help you improve. Okay. They're not going to reinforce your false belief sets. Now, this, when you look at this is a negative feedback loop. Okay. I'm sending hugs. Amen. Straight facts. Yes, I feel you. Every single time. We need to be friends. Slay. Period. So, I mean, and then there's a dude that chimes in and says, "Hey, what part of Jersey are you from?" So there's a bunch of chicks that are probably also single moms chiming in saying, "You go, queen." And then there's a dude that wants to hit saying, "What part of Jersey are you from?" So that's really the essence of it, and this is not helping this person. Okay. But she has a lot of followers, 100,000 to 257,000 at the time of this recording. And I don't know anything about this individual, but it's because there are a lot of people out there that feel that same way. But that doesn't mean it's a good way to be looking at the situation. All right. So, I mean, if you want to stay in that rut, then go ahead. But I'm just saying, they're not therapists.
one of the craziest things that I see on TikTok the most is women always screaming at other people for why they won't help them with their kids. And I don't understand where that comes from. Where you think that somebody is supposed to help you with your kids, like they'd be like, "Oh my God, where's the village?" I'm like, the village is in your house. Them 5 kids you decide to have. I don't understand where does that come from that women automatically assume that because they're going through something, somebody's gonna come and help them. Like, why would you pop out kids that you can't take care of? I don't get that.
There's a lot of reasons why they do that. Okay, lack of discipline, lack of self-control, poor parenting. You know, they didn't have good parents that instilled the proper belief sets in them. Negative feedback loops. Okay, like on TikTok, they see these videos about, you know, do what you want, girl, go be outside, and then they go outside, they get pregnant, and then they complain about the situation that they're in. And you know what this is reminiscent of? It is a childlike behavior. You know, I'm sure at least one time when I was a kid, my mother or father told me, don't do that, you know, and I went and did it anyways. And then I asked for their help to get me out of that situation. Okay. So this is the same thing, you know, single moms disregard the wisdom that is bestowed upon them by many other people, including single moms. They go outside, they get burned, and then they want to run back and ask society to help them fix their problem. And what's crazy is that society does end up helping them a lot of times solve their problems. You know, the gal complains about, oh, I only get $250 a month from my baby daddy or whatever. Yeah, but you're getting something from that man. Okay. And most single mothers do collect on their baby daddies. I mean, I guess I could fact check that to make sure that's accurate, but do most single moms get payments from their baby daddies? Let's see how ChatGPT responds to that. Okay, so maybe I stand corrected. And I'm not afraid to stand corrected. That's why we inquire, because we want to learn, right? So it says, no, many single mothers do not reliably, okay, receive payments from other parents. Here are some key facts and context. What is the expectation? Okay, you know, U.S. and non-custodial parent, often the father, is legally obligated to pay child support when ordered by a court or via agreement. Having child support paid can reduce poverty risk, yada, yada. What the reality often is, okay, now for starters, it says what the reality often is. And ChatGPT has an interesting way of positioning data sometimes because it's not always the full story, which is why we're going to read. Only about half of custodial parents had either a formal or informal child support agreement in place in a recent survey. So 50.2% is a majority, all right, whether you like it or not. In 2017, among custodial parents who were due child support, about 46% received the full amount, and another 20% got some, but not at all. Not all. Okay, so yes. So a majority of people, all right, are receiving child support. Custodial parents, so parents who are taking care of the child, 46% are receiving, so 40, 56, 70% are receiving, if my math is correct, 40, 70%, yeah, over 70% of single mothers, okay, so it says here that 70% are receiving child support, but then ChatGPT says older reports suggest that a large share of single mothers received no child support at all. For example, over 70% of single mothers did not receive any child support at all. And that's according to Dame Magazine in 2018, as opposed to USA Facts, which is 2023. Okay, so USA Facts says 30% receive no child support. So 70% are receiving child support. So again, you know, they are receiving help, a majority of them. All right. So again, is it all? No, it's not, but it is a majority. And again, if you put yourself in this position, these are the risks that you run. But again, it's important to look at the data, because a lot of times when I step out there, I too, again, am learning, but this does reinforce what I exactly said. So, congratulations to that. So all the gals complaining about not getting help, 70% of them are getting help. And that's just what the data shows. And that's a majority. And we speak in terms of majorities and rules, not exceptions. Here we go.
Can we normalize crashing out? Like, not like I'm not gonna crash out. Like, don't worry, I'm not gonna do what everyone thinks I'm gonna do and just flip out, man. Not that, right? Hold on, wait. But just like a quick little solo crash out. Like I'm in my vehicle and let me by myself real quick. And then I think I'll be fine.
All right. So, I don't know if this gal's a single mom or not. Somehow she wound up on this reel. The point is that, this clip is probably going to get a lot of views, or it did, which is why it showed up. Okay. So, more performative narcissism, which is a constant theme here, is that these women are going out there doing that thing, and people are reinforcing their belief set, which is why their content gets pushed up into the algorithm, why I see it in the first place. So if this wasn't a popular opinion, then it wouldn't be presented to me. So let's go to the next one.
I feel like it's dumb coming on social media to cry, right? But I honestly, I'm gonna be honest, I genuinely don't have any friends, and I feel like I just need to vent a little bit. I need to stop crying because my appointment is at 9 and it's 8:45. I've been having problems with work. I've been having problems with just like home stuff and other things. But I think I'm just stressed. I feel so stressed. I haven't slept in 2 days. I haven't slept since the day before yesterday at night, because yesterday that I got out of work, I was with the kids all day and they didn't really nap, so I didn't nap. I did sleep for like 2 hours before I went into work for today, but I still haven't slept. Work-wise, they don't really help me. They don't want to accommodate me. That's why I'm working night shifts, because they don't have, apparently according to them, they don't have any day shifts available. So I'm stuck working overnight. And the only reason I say I'm stuck working overnight is because that's the only way I'll get hours, is to work overnight. I feel so stressed, and I just feel more tired the bigger that I get and the farther along I get in my pregnancy. And I know I'm just crying because of the hormones, but I don't know, I just feel like I haven't cried in a while, and I just needed to cry a little bit. Same as with his dad right now, because I couldn't bring him to the doctor's appointment. I just don't want to go.
Okay, so yeah, I had to endure that clip because I was trying to remember if this gal's a single mom or not. And I guess she is, because she said he's with his dad right now, which is typically what people say when they're a single mom. Now, the point is that, it's okay to have these emotions, right? It's very natural. And, artists go out and they communicate to the world emotions and things like that in art and in music, but you're not an artist. Okay? You're on the internet trying to look for validation for the bad choices that you made, and you're complaining about working overnights and this and that. Like, welcome to the adult world. How many dudes work overnights and overtime to support their families? Tons of them. And you're making it sound like this is some far stretch. On top of that, whatever shift you choose, you are getting paid for that work. Okay, now you want to say, well, they don't have help, so they're making me work overnights. So you're getting paid for a job and now you want help for that job? I mean, this is the kind of delusion that people have. And I'm not saying having 3 kids is not stressful. What I'm saying is that this is what happens when you get put in that position. You start perceiving the world to be, a lot harder than it actually is because you had added that additional stress into your life. All these situations could have been controlled by this individual. Okay. I don't know about their relationship or things like that. What I'm talking about is outcomes. Okay. So regardless of what the situation is, you put a clip on the internet, I'm now responding to that clip, and that's where it's at.
And while we at it, let me tell y'all about the time this motherfucker told me he couldn't come get his daughter because his other daughter was having a birthday party. That's what the fuck I said. He said, she's having a birthday party and it's too much. Say what? Como se dice? What do you mean? Or anytime he has something to do where she's going to be a slight inconvenience, now all of a sudden he can't come. And we had a whole fucking argument because I'm like, bro, when I have shit to do, guess what I have to do? I got to schedule around my fucking kids.
Yeah, and again, you made that decision, right? So this is the repercussion for that. These are the consequences that you're looking at. And now you want to go on the internet and say, hey, internet, here's the situation. And again, I'm not going to look at this page because it's probably the same scenario, okay? I'm not saying that this gal has a bunch of performative narcissism or whatever else, but she's obviously trying to send a message to the world that it's okay for me to feel this way, and I'm not going to take responsibility for this position I've been in. But this is the state of the nation right here. So let's look at the next one.
For those who don't know me and just started following me, my name is Maddie Rebecca. I'm a single mom with 2 kids. I am an ex-exotic dancer. I got out of the club trying to better my life and find better opportunities. Ever since I had my daughter, she just made me want more out of life, and she made me realize not to settle for less, or that's the routine she'll fall into when she gets...
Yeah, so again, I made all these bad decisions. I chose this path for myself, but now I'm going to raise the bar on a depreciating asset. Okay, so, you should treat me better than everyone else because I made these bad decisions, and now I know that, well, now I don't want to do those things. But that's the thing, right? You made those decisions, so you suffer the consequences for them. And again, I don't know anything about these individuals, but they're putting their lives out on the internet and they're subjecting themselves to this sort of commentary. Again, she has a bunch of tattoos. What do tattoos denote from a statistical standpoint? These women typically are more promiscuous. Okay, then she tells you she's an exotic dancer. She tells you she has children. You go to her page, all right, and I don't think I have it pulled up anymore, but if I do, we'll dig through it. Yeah, I don't have it pulled up anymore, but on her page, what I remember seeing is she did have a picture of her child, okay, or children, and her children are of mixed race descent, and I suspect that the individual that she had a child with was a black dude. Okay, and black dudes are statistically likely that they're not going to take care of their children. Matter of fact, we can just look at it right here and type it into ChatGPT. Okay, so after ChatGPT, this extremely long pause, And after I had to carefully craft the information for ChatGPT so it didn't think I was being racist, okay? Because this is the funny thing, right? And I should have just looked this up on Grok, because Grok actually tells me more accurate, direct answers because it's not so political. Are black fathers more likely to no longer live with the mother? Yes, statistically more likely than white or Hispanic fathers. Okay, so after all of this drama and dance around that ChatGPT gave me, all right, you know, basically it says that black dudes are leaving. All right. And so this gal had a child with, based on the looks of the child, it looks like the child is of another race. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. What I'm telling you is, if a group of people is statistically more likely to not be there and you choose to get pregnant by this said group of people, what do you think's going to happen? This is exactly what's going to happen. And then you go on her page and you see that, like, she's fallen in love with some simp that's taking care of the, or going to take care, I'm not even going to say that individual is a stronger man than myself. I'm just going to say that, good for her, if he wants to take care of that sort of situation. The issue is that she's still talking about her baby daddy all over her social media. So, if you're a dude, that isn't a very good look for you if that's your partner. But, it's a free country. You can do what you want.
I promise you, life does not end when you become a single mom. It doesn't. It doesn't end. It's going to feel like it's ending when you first leave. It is. It's going to be hard. You're going to cry. Let it all out. But I promise you, as time passes on and you look back, you're going to realize that leaving was the best thing you could have done for you and your kids.
Okay, so again, this is cope. All right. So she doesn't even look confident when she says these things, right? But she's saying these things because she's trying to reinforce the decision that she made, that it was a good decision. Now, we know that men are more likely to produce, better children when they're the ones taking care of them. And a matter of fact, we can look at this data. And what does she say?
You're going to realize that leaving was the best thing you could have done for you.
Okay, so she says leaving is better. So is it better to raise a family with both parents or one parent? I already know the answer to this, but let's just say. Children on average tend to do better when raised by two loving, stable, and cooperative parents. Okay, but the key words are loving, stable, and cooperative parents. I agree. If her and her baby daddy are constantly fighting and this and this and that, that potentially is going to create turmoil in that child's life. So should she leave? Should she not leave? Okay, so she leaves. But typically the reasons women leave relationships, actually, what is the number one reason women leave relationships? Okay, so, regardless of why this woman left, all right, it doesn't really matter. The point is that the single father households, it says right here, it says it's generally better than single mother homes. Fathers typically have a higher average income and more stable housing. Well, that's what it says. It says single mother households more challenges statistically, largely due to higher poverty rates and less time flexibility, not inferior parenting. Okay, yeah, but the stats are the stats, right? It doesn't really matter the reasons why. The point is that on average, fathers do better. Okay, so, and we could go a million different directions with this. And let's say that, okay, single mother households versus single father households and prison population. Yeah, so it's taking a long time because ChatGPT is trying to put this in a politically correct format so we don't offend anybody. So let me boil it down for you. So we know that single parent households, it says they're 1.8 to 2 point times higher odds of having been in jail or prison by the late teens. Okay. So what the overall statistic shows is that single fathers who get sole or primary custody, okay, their children sometimes show better averages than those in single mother homes. Okay? Again, it doesn't really matter the reason. That's the outcome. And, so that's kind of the point.
I have never shined more as a woman than I do now as a single mom. Because when you're in a relationship that makes you feel trapped, where you're miserable, where you're literally just in survival mode, you're not living. You're just trying to make it to the next day. I have never felt more powerful, more driven, just even more as a single mom. Like, I'm who my kids depend on for everything. Life doesn't end when you become a single mom. You're going to have your days, but I promise you, it's going to be okay. It is going to be okay. Because if you asked me when I left 3 years ago, if I would be where I am.
Yeah, so the clip cuts off, but, I understand where she's coming from, and there are a lot of single moms that get put into situations and they have to leave. What I'm saying is that these are the consequences, okay? And again, every single girl that I've showed so far that wasn't wearing long sleeve shirts, they all have tattoos, including this gal. And she's good looking, and she's not going to have a problem finding some dude that will, patronize her, whatever you want to say. But, so again, you can perceive it however you want. You can go down whatever road that you want. You can be involved with these gals and, maybe it'll provide some happiness for you. What I'm saying is that these are the issues that come along with it. Okay. And it's something to reflect on. So be sure to like, subscribe, and comment on this video, and I'll see you on the next one.